Can I start off? I'm going to start off with John, actually. You've all been exporting for a number of years now, but maybe we can just start off with each of you the journey that got you on the export trail, as it were.
Well, I joined Haddonstone 26 years ago, at a time when there was a great expansion in the industry, but we were considered the market leaders, and export became increasingly important. I think in the first 5 years I was with the company, exports went from about £60,000 a year to 1.2 million. So there's massive growth for us. Europe particularly was the initial market, which was very important. We had some distributors, and as we grew from there, the reputation grew, and we ended up distributing and selling our stone worldwide. It's nice when we get to major projects because our product lends itself to sort of landscape designs and some significant housing estates, but we also sell one plant or one urn wherever people want it. So it's been a major part of our success. There have been years when the home market has been very depressed and the export market has actually carried us through. Conversely, there have been other times when the export market's been very struggling and the home market's carried us through, so we see it as complementary.
And how, when you started off, did your now export customers find you? Where did they find you at exhibitions? And
we start off with we advertise in international magazines which have a long shelf life, sort of World of Interiors, Country Life, that sort of magazine. We also exhibit worldwide. We find that you need to commit to a market. Recently we've been targeting more the Middle East, so we've been exhibiting there since 2000. And the first 3 or 4 years you're not going to get an awful lot, but as you develop a relationship, you meet the same people again and again, they get confidence in dealing with you, and that's when the product starts to shift. You get specified and people know you, and you develop friendships as well, which is important, I think.
Okay, good, thank you. Gordon, how did Wildlife World get started on exporting?
Well, I joined the company 4 years ago, and as I said before, I've actually been in existence since 1998. There were some exports in place before I joined. I'm pleased to say there are a lot more now. Our route to market to find new customers is usually trade shows, visits to market. It can be Meet the Buyers Day via GardenEx. We also have a lot of strong internet inquiries that often turn into business. So it's a combination of factors and various sort of routes you need to follow to bring new customers on board.
Good. Okay, let me see if it's the same for Bosmere and for La Hacienda. Debbie?
Well, actually, our route to market probably started off at Café Cologne because we've been exhibiting there for over 30 years and company 35 years. It was a very good place to start with, and as previously mentioned, building relationships with people that you see again and again gives confidence, brand exposure, and also you need to be seen to be there, basically, so people know that you're there. And by continuing to go to all of the exhibitions, I find very, very positive. We are now also, we've got a web page, a strong web presence and inquiries, and all of this helps, as well as the Meet the Buyer days, and also attending GLE and all the international buyers that come there as well.
Okay. John?
Yeah, it's similar for us. We started GLE about 15 years ago and have been every year since. And the first few years we did find a few international buyers, and as we grew, we then went to other shows supported by GardenEx, and we went to the GAFA Cologne, which is a fantastic show for international buyers. And the last 4 years we've been to the hardware show in the States, again through GardenEx. But as John was saying as well, we've been at the show 4 years, and it's really only in the last year where we've really found a lot of traction in sales, and we've seen the growth starting. The first couple of years, hardly any sales, but just gaining contacts, interest, confidence in the buyers. And now we think that our business in the US is going to multiply rapidly over the next 2 or 3 years.
Good. Well, so lots of slightly different ways of starting there, but a common theme is trade shows and advertising. Charlie, is that the common route for people to get into exporting?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately trade shows are great showcases for the garden industry, whether it's here in the UK or Germany or the US or indeed places like Japan. You're not going to meet the number of potential buyers in any other in any other way that's convenient to you. Even when I started out in the garden business, which was nearly 30 years ago, God forbid, I was with Hoselock, which was is one of the biggest companies in the industry and has always been very active in exporting. But even for a company like Hoselock, shows such as Glee and Gafferspoga are the places where you're potentially going to meet new distributors from new markets, new retailers which maybe your existing distributors aren't already dealing with, and they're also a great focal point for networking between distributors, between retailers, and between distributors from different countries as well.
And from your experience, do people get into exporting almost a bit by accident? I.e., they have a stand at a trade show and somebody comes along and says, I'd like to take your product abroad, or is it through that they have to have a plan to make it happen?
It's a mixture of both, but a lot of the export business that certainly the companies that I've worked for over the years was often chance contact, not only just on the exhibition floor. It might be in the bar in nearby, or in a hotel lift, where you just exchange cards and say hello to people, and then encourage them to come and visit your exhibition stand at the show. But it's a mixture of kind of serendipity, but it's also obviously the best way is to have a strategic plan as well.
John, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just saying, just by attending Glee those times, we did fall into export accidentally by some international buyers attending the Glee shows, but we then upped the game and then started attending the overseas shows. And say, I was talking to Trevor earlier, we've now put an import department into our business, and someone to manage that, and some administrators as well, and go out and target much more international business, because we feel that's where our growth is going to come from over the next few years.
You mean an export department?
An export department.
You said import.